Welcome to today's lesson. You will need your composition book for notes and a pen or a pencil. All right, so we're going to talk about a lot of things today with graphs. I'm going to go through graphs really fast, and then I want you to hit pause and copy them down. I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to some of the graphs because you know what these are. Several types of graphs that we use today. These are just a list of the common ones, a list. We've got pictographs, and they use pictures to compare items. We've got bar graphs, and those are used to compare items. We've got line graphs, and that's a graph over time. And then we have circle graphs, and those are graphs that use percentages. Go ahead and hit pause and copy those down. The next thing we're going to talk about is a scatter plot. Now, a scatter plot is like plotting points on a coordinate plane, where you have two sets of data being compared. A scatter plot will show you a relationship between the two numbers. Now, you do need to write down what a scatter plot is. Go ahead and hit pause and write that down. You do not need to write down the correlation. Now, let me explain to you what this means. A correlation describes the type of relationship, and there's four of them, and I'm fixing to show you what those are. Now, a lot of times you will have a line that you can draw in your scatter plot that shows a line of best fit. And it's just an estimation. So let's actually look at our positive and negative correlations. Let me explain this first, and then you can copy these down. A positive correlation means they're going towards the right direction. And you'll notice this is a strong correlation because the line of best fit is really close to the dots. Now, a weak positive correlation is when they're in the general direction, but not all over the place. This right here has no correlation because the lines are everywhere, the dots are everywhere, and you can't really determine what dot goes where. If you have a negative correlation, that means that it's usually going down or it's going to the left way. Now, a weak one, again, has the dots far away from the line, while a strong correlation has them closer. So what I want you to do is hit pause, and then I do want you to copy all four of these down. You don't necessarily have to write down these down here, but you need to do everything else. Okay, so let's try and think about some answers for a positive, negative, or no correlation. Let's say that I have the size of a car or truck and the number of miles per gallon of gasoline it can travel. If you were going to plot that, for example, this would be the size of a car. Small car is going to have a smaller gallon, so it's going to be able to drive less miles. So if you think about this in a graph type problem, the number of gallons in a car and the number of miles per gallon, the bigger the car, the more miles. Well, that's not necessarily true either. But this would be a negative correlation because the larger the car or truck, the fewer miles per gallon of gas it can travel. So if you were plotting this, it would look something like this. Okay, so what about your grade point average, the number of A's you receive? What's going to happen to your grade point average the more A's you get? It's going to go up. So that's going to be a positive correlation. And what about the number of telephones using the same phone number and the number of calls you receive? Do they have any correlation to each other whatsoever? No. So this is no correlation. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is misleading graphs. Misleading graphs are when graphs have misleading information. You do not have to copy anything down. I just want you to look at these and listen. None of this needs to be in your notes. Okay, so a misleading graph are when they use a graph to distort information. Let's take a look at this graph right here. What can you think looking at this would give it a misleading information. It looks to be about right, doesn't it? The line's going up, stock value. Well, this is what? Year 2020? You cannot foresee the future. So you could not have anything past that. The furthest your graph could go would be right here. So this is the reason it's misleading, is because it's estimating the future. You cannot estimate the future. All right, let's take a look at this one. Why do you think this is misleading? Look at the number of 6th graders. How many are there? 120. But look at the number of 7th graders. How many are there? 100. There's only 20 difference between these two. But look at the gap. Doesn't that look like it's more than 20? The reason being is because you have a break. Line graphs can have breaks, but bar graphs cannot have breaks. So this is the reason why this is misleading. Why is this misleading? Okay, the reason this is misleading is because there's too much empty space up here. You want to make this here look to where you would have the bars fill up more of the graph. If we look at this original problem here in this graph, tutoring service, why would this be misleading? Because you can't guarantee a straight A. All right, so that's it for today. I will see you in class